This episode is part of the Relationship Archetype Series, and we are going to explore and dive deep into the ocean archetype, also known as the anxious attachment style. So, if you resonate with having this attachment style or you scored the ocean as a result from the Relationship Archetype quiz, this episode is for you. We're going to take a deep dive into what the ocean archetype actually looks like, what are some of the struggles and triggers that occur when you have an anxious attachment style, and how to start healing these core wounds and fears. So let's dive in. Welcome to the Relationship Rehab Podcast. I'm Sammy, a certified breakup and relationship coach, attachment specialist, former love addict, and spiritual junkie. This podcast is for you, the hopeless romantic who loves to love, and a safe space for us to explore and heal our attachment trauma, broken hearts, and love addictions. Together, we are on a mission to become the love of our own lives so we can have successful, healthy, secure relationships with others. So if you're ready to create a life and love beyond your wildest desires, you're in the right place. Your journey towards becoming more secure in love and life starts now. Hello, my loves, and welcome to this episode, which is the first part of the Relationship Archetype Series, also known as the Attachment Styles. Now, I've called them relationship archetypes for a reason, and this is because I want to be able to explore outside of the box of what we know as attachment styles and bring in a little bit more of my own thoughts and work and research into these episodes. And it's also tied to a quiz that I have for you guys right now. If you haven't taken it already, it is the Relationship Archetype Quiz. What is your relationship archetype? And you can find the link in the show notes as well if you want to take that quiz and find out which archetype you are. And in this episode in particular, we are taking a deep dive into the ocean archetype, also known as the anxious attachment style. So if you resonate with this attachment style, you know that this is you through and through, then maybe there's no need to take that quiz and you can just dive into this episode as we explore this archetype and attachment styles in general. And I feel like that's where I want to start this episode before we dive into the archetype itself. Is let's have a look at what attachment styles are and attachment theory in general. And this is a buzzword that has been going around for a while now, like attachment styles, what the hell is this? And it's something that has really changed my life as well. Once I started to develop a deeper understanding and awareness of what was happening with me when I was getting into relationships, it really just opened up a whole new world and helped me really understand myself, show compassion, and heal those deep inner wounds and beliefs and traumas that I was carrying and sabotaging in my own relationships. So let's dive into what attachment styles are. So basically, it is how we attach and bond with people, primarily our parents when we were a child, and then romantic partners then when we become adults. So it was initially created by a guy called John Bowlby in the 1950s, and he basically did a multitude of experiments involving parents and children, and he observed how these children were being attached to their parents through a very famous experiment where he would leave the child in the room and then he would observe what would happen to this child when the parent would leave the room. So the more anxious child would get very upset, would get very anxious, hence the name, and they would not be able to settle. They would not be able to concentrate on play or anything until their parent come back, and only then can they rest. And even when the parent would come back into the room, the anxiously attached child would actually be mad at the parent for leaving in the first place and be very clingy, very needy, and make sure that parent doesn't go anywhere, and they will stay very close to their parent so their parent doesn't go anywhere and they can play safely by their side. The more avoidant child would not really necessarily care that the parent would leave the room, but interestingly enough, when they put the heart rate monitor on these children, they would see that the more avoidant child would actually react the same as the anxiously attached child, meaning they are anxious inside, they're just not outwardly being anxious. Like you can't see that they're being anxious or clingy, but inside their heart rate is up, they're feeling some sort of way. but they come across as like, I don't care that they've left. I can't trust them anyway. They're not meeting my needs. I can only depend on myself. That's how the avoidant child was coming across. And the secure child would initially get upset that the parent would leave, but then they would be able to soothe themselves and be reassured that the parent is coming back, and they would be able to play and focus on what they're doing. And then when the parent comes back, they would greet them warmly and be glad to see them, but also be okay knowing that that parent is coming back. So he came up with these three attachment styles, which is anxious preoccupied, avoidant dismissive, and secure. Now, if you know about attachment styles, you would know that there is a fourth one, and that is called the fearful avoidant or disorganized attachment style. And this didn't come until later on by a woman called Mary Ainsworth, who took John Bowlby's work and expanded it further. She figured out that there is a small cohort of society that doesn't really fit into any of these boxes or labels that we have given these attachment styles, that they're actually displaying both anxious and avoidant. So then she called it fearful avoidant or disorganized. So another thing to note when it comes to attachment is that it's not something that you are naturally born with. It's something that is inherently learned. It's a learned process in childhood. It's part of our programming and conditioning. It's not something that we are naturally born with. I hear this all the time. Oh, I'm naturally anxiously attached. Like, no, it's a programming. And the good news is it can be changed. It's a programming that can be changed. It's initially developed when the behavior of our primary caregivers contributes and forms the way that a child perceives close relationships. So the child is basically dependent on their caregiver to meet their needs, to seek comfort and soothing and support. And when for some reason that parent or caregiver is not able to meet that child's needs emotionally or physically, then there's an insecure attachment style that is typically developed from that space, because the anxious child would then develop beliefs of, I'm not good enough to receive these needs, I need to work harder. Or they may have learned that love is hard to get and I need to be able to win them over. They'll receive breadcrumbs of love and they will think it is the best thing in the world and they'll want more. So it's very much a more leaning in energy. Whereas the avoidant child, when they didn't get their needs met physically or emotionally, they went the opposite way. So they went, I can't depend on my caregiver. I can't trust them. And when they are giving it to me, I can't trust it. When are they going to take it away? They will eventually. So they have developed coping mechanisms of being able to only depend on themselves and not on other people. So this is coming from our childhood, guys. Like I said, it can be changed as we develop and grow consciously as adults. So there are some things that I believe to be true about attachment styles in general, because I mentioned earlier about boxes and labels. And on one hand, it's really good to have labels and names for things, because then we are able to, I know for me, when I found out I had an anxious attachment style, I was like, oh my gosh, it's actually a thing. It's not, something wrong with me. There's not like this thing that I'm like dealing with alone. There is something that I can actually have and work with, and there's so much information and research and stuff out there that I can, and I was really empowered by the label. But what I will say is that sometimes a lot of us can get attached to the label and even use the label in a way of like, oh, well, I can't help it. It's my attachment style. So it's important to not get attached to it or use it in a way like that. And it's not a diagnosis. This isn't something to say there's something wrong with you. You're not broken. This is just for us to use in a very positive, empowering way. And also, attachment is situational. I believe that your, let's say, anxious attachment, avoidant attachment can come out in a larger way if you are with someone who's triggering you in a big way. So if you're typically with a more avoidant and you're anxiously attached, then that person is going to trigger you more than a secure person. It's just, that's how it goes. The way that they cope in a relationship is triggering you and setting you back to the time when you were a child and your parent emotionally withdrew their love for some reason or ignored you. And what you had to do then to cope with that as a child is to cling, is to lean, is to need that constant reassurance that this person is not going to leave you or abandon you. And also, attachment, being attached to others, is part of the human experience. We are wired for connection. It's not a bad thing. I saw this a lot with my clients as well. It's like, I can't get attached. It's like this negative connotation, but actually, we are meant to attach. We are here to procreate. Attachment is part of our system. It's making sure that we have that interdependent attachment, healthy, secure attachment, and not codependency or hyper independence. It's about finding that balance. But attachment is part of life. But we're also wired to move away from pain. This is how our brain works. So again, taking the conditioning and programming that we have developed in our childhood, wherever causes us pain, we're going to move away from. So for the anxiously attached person, they will move towards something in order to avoid pain, and the avoidant person are more likely to move away from something to avoid pain. So these are just some things I wanted to just throw in there first and foremost about attachment styles and what I believe to be true about them. Is that they are situational, they can be changed because they are not inherited from birth, and also it is part of the human experience to be attached to others. So now we've got that out of the way, let's dive into the ocean archetype. So like I said, this is typically an anxious attachment style. And if this is you, then you will probably label yourself as someone who is a hopeless romantic and you love to love and you have so much love to give and you love just pouring it into others, and you tend to feel a bit resentful or disappointed when you don't get the same amount of love back or reciprocated from your partners, from your friends, from your co-workers, because you are just so willing to give it all. And this is because you have a high desire for intimacy and connection. It's so important for you to have this in your life. But it can be driven by a fear of abandonment and rejection. And I'm going to go into this a little bit deeper as the episode unfolds as to why this is present and how we can overcome it. And like I said, it is coming from a space in your childhood or early relationships as well. Because like I said, attachment styles can change, where you may have started in a more secure attachment as a child and fell into a very toxic, unhealthy relationship in your younger age that has caused you to change your attachment style. And, you know, the anxiousness, the clinginess in your behavior has now become almost like a survival mechanism for getting your needs met. It's something that you're automatically doing. And this can look like needing that constant reassurance. So I know for me, I used to feel this a lot in dating. You know, if I didn't get that text back right away, I'm like, oh my God, are they upset with me? Do they not like me anymore? And I would get so anxious and afraid of this abandonment, and I would just lean in and be like, hey, is everything okay? And it's only been like an hour. So this is the way that we try to cope when we're not conscious of what's happening or know how to deal with it. So why I called it the ocean is, and I'm just going to highlight some of the superpowers that we have, because like I said, I really believe that these attachment styles do come with their superpowers. So just like the ocean, we have emotional depth. Like, we have this sensitivity about us. We feel deeply, and we have this big, big, big heart. And we feel other people's emotions and moods in such a way that it affects how we feel. We're like big empaths in that way. But the thing is, sometimes not only do we then risk being trampled over like a bit of a doormat, because we do have this big giant heart and we're very generous with our love, so people kind of take advantage of that. And you know, if we have a partner then that is angry or sad or down in any way, it really affects us in a big level. And we want to be able to change or fix that person so we can feel better again. Because, unless they are feeling calm and happy, then we can't. I can only feel good when you feel good. So we will do whatever it takes to resolve whatever is causing our partner to feel some sort of way. And like water, we're adaptable. So another way that I like to call anxiously attached individuals is a bit of a chameleon. We are very adaptable people. So we're able to adapt and mold ourselves into something that suits the current situation or partner. Now, you can attach this a lot to some childhood experiences where maybe we have had to mold or adapt ourselves in order to be okay in the situation we were in order to please our parents in some way. And now this is being repeated in our adult relationships. But for me, I would recognize this a lot when I was dating. So if I knew that this person liked a certain type of partner, I would then take it upon myself to become that partner so I could be perfect in their eyes. Oh my God, this person, she ticks all my boxes. She's everything that I'm looking for. But the downfall of that is that I wasn't being authentic to myself. I was more concerned and worried about what they thought of me and how they perceived me. And again, this is also in friendships as well, and even in work. And this can lead to very big people pleasing behaviors and avoiding conflict because we want to make sure everything is okay and right and perfect. So we're water in that way. We can literally adapt ourselves around others. We need to be careful when it's too much the other way, where we're losing ourselves in the process. And like the sea, the wind can conjure up a storm within us. And the wind archetype is known as the avoidant attachment style. So I'm going to do a whole episode on anxious avoidant relationships. So I'm not going to go into this too much. But it's a no-brainer that the avoidantly attached individual causes storms to happen within us. And when this occurs, when they withdraw from us, when they take space, when they trigger us in some way, our emotions can really feel like these big waves crashing over you, and we can feel like we're drowning in them because we can't think straight, we can't do anything, we can't focus in work, we can't be present with our friends, we can't sleep, we can't eat, we can't do anything until that storm has settled, until we've made things right. So we feel like we're just losing control of ourselves. And we typically tend to emotionally release through crying, which is amazing, by the way. I love a good cry. I'm all for crying. And we find like relief at the end of this release. So, like a bit of a calm after a storm, or when things have settled, when we're able to die down the storm, we feel good. And the ocean is a symbol of interconnectedness. Like I said, our biggest need and value is connection, love and connection and intimacy. We thrive off this. We love it so much, to the point where sometimes we can feel like our lives are incomplete without it, or if we don't have some sort of connection on our day-to-day basis, we can feel really depleted and low. And this can also manifest in a way where you may not be able to be without a relationship. So being alone is something that's really scary or undesirable for you, where it means something about you that, you can't get a relationship or something, but really it's just something we highly value. So we struggle to be alone for long periods of time, even when we're in a relationship with a partner. If we don't see them at least 3 or 4 times a week, we feel like that person either doesn't want to spend time with us. Really, it may be because our partner has other things going on, but because we have such a high need and we value it so much, we then don't get it, or we don't understand when other people don't value it as much. And they're like, why do you not want to spend all your time with me? Because we want it, right? And we think that everybody sometimes operates the way that we do. And relationships are one of our top priorities, but I feel like I'm following these superpowers up with all these buts, but they can override a lot of our other priorities as well. So for me, when I first got into my codependent relationship, friendships were just not important to me anymore. I had no qualms at all letting my friends go. And this is because I just wanted to make sure that I was so available for my partner, just in case he wanted to hang out. And if I had plans with a friend and then my partner was like, oh, I want to see you tonight, that was it. Like, no brainer. I would cancel on my friend. And of course, my friends were a bit like, I'm not okay with this. I don't feel valued. I don't feel important to you. And that's how we can lose our friendships. I've lost jobs over an anxious attachment style where I just wanted to spend all my time with this person, where I would call in sick to work. I would not even turn up because I just wanted to spend all my time with them and energy with them. So we prioritize it sometimes in a way that overrides everything else in our life. Like water, we are nurturing. We're nurturing people. We typically choose careers that are in nursing, social work, caring, healing careers, because we love to take care of people. We love to take care of others. And this can make people feel so supported and loved by us. They may say things like, oh, I can always go to Sammy because she always has space for me. She always knows what to say, because we are very in tune with people. We love to be able to help, but it can give us this urge to save or fix or rescue people from their issues and their problems. When someone comes to us with needing help, we almost take it upon ourselves to solve it for them. And with time, with skills, like developing emotional intelligence skills and knowing how to handle these things, we can definitely support people in managing their own issues and triggers and be that person for them as well, without taking it upon ourselves. And this can also make it very difficult for us to leave unhealthy relationships, because we want to be able to be that person for someone who's hurting so badly, or someone who's dealing with addiction, alcoholism, or trauma in some way, or mental health. Like, we can't possibly leave them. We need to fix them and rescue them. And sometimes we do this subconsciously so they'll stay with us. I recognize this in myself and my clients, where we want to be that person to change him or her. And if we're able to change them for the better, they're going to love us and they're going to thank us and they're going to want to be with us for the rest of their lives. And I know I witnessed this as well, where this person, my client, poured so much into their partner and sacrificed themselves so much, sacrificed their dreams, sacrificed their lifestyle in order for their partner to heal and to grow and to be okay. And then once their partner was in that space, they left, which is devastating, 100%. But the resentment and the bitterness and the hurt that my client was left with was so deep, because she poured so much into this person and then wondered why this person then didn't love them for the rest of their lives. And we see this in the song Halsey, am I saying her name right? It's called Without Me, and it's basically a song that talks about how she built up this person from the ground up, and then all of a sudden this person left. And I'm not saying that it's not, it's okay to do this. Like, there's so many complexities and things we could go into, but there's almost like this expectation that we have sometimes, that just because we helped them, poured so much into them at the expense of ourselves, they are then obligated to stay with us. And I don't know about you, but I don't ever want anyone to feel obligated to stay with me. Yeah, and one more, just like the ocean, you are boundaryless. So it probably comes to no surprise at you that boundaries are not something that you think about on a daily basis. You may not even recognize you have boundaries. You're like, I'm pretty open, I'm pretty flexible, don't really have many boundaries. So we don't like to restrict ourselves to boundaries. We want to be that person who is available, is open-minded. We might not even know what it's like to set, stick to, or communicate boundaries. And as a result, you may not even respect other people's boundaries, because you see them as disconnecting, actually. This person trying to put a boundary in place because they want to take their own space tonight. And that for me is so painful, because why would you not want to spend all your time with me? So instead, they kind of override that person's boundaries. It's like, no, you can't take space for yourself tonight, because I need I need this and I need, to spend time with you. So we may have an issue with respecting other people's boundaries and believe that they can be broken or molded in some way if the relationship is a close one. Now, for me, when I would have a boyfriend, a partner back then, if they tried to set a boundary, I would be like, I don't think so. I felt like I could do that. I felt like I could say, no, you don't get to set a boundary with me just because I'm your partner. And I would not see them as their own individual because I was so enmeshed in them. I would expect them to be so enmeshed in me. And if they would dare to do anything outside of the relationship without me, I would then make that a very disconnecting thing and be so full of fear that this person is like withdrawing from me, when the reality is they just wanted to spend some time alone or with their friends doing something else. So that is why the anxiously attached individual is the ocean archetype, because this is very much the archetype that we present in relationships. And some of the beliefs that we typically hold about ourselves that I see in a lot of my anxiously attached clients is, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough for this person. I'm not good enough for this relationship. I need to be better. And we're literally just beating ourselves up with the not good enough stick all the time in our relationships. We never feel good enough. Another one is, they are going to leave me eventually. So we're, like I said, constantly being operated with this fear of abandonment, thinking that this person is going to leave us. Maybe we put them on this massive pedestal where we don't feel good enough for them, and they are now going to go out there into the world and find someone who is more attractive or more funny or more smart or more of something else that we are lacking. So we're constantly on guard when our partner is around other women or other men. When you're around other people that they potentially could be attracted to. So we're constantly feeling like we're not enough and we need to compare ourselves and they're going to leave us for someone else. We also have a typical belief of being alone, or I could say that it's more of a fear. We fear being alone. It's such a heavy, disempowering thing to be alone, and we make it mean something about us as an individual if we're alone. Like, oh, no one loves us, no one cares about us, we're not valuable, we're not important. All these different things will start to come up when we feel alone or when we are single. We may have a belief of, I'm not important, so they don't care about me. This can typically come up if we don't hear from them for a couple of hours. Oh, I'm not important to them. I'm not a priority to them. They don't care about me. When the reality is, they could just be busy at work. Or they could just want to not look at their phone for a couple of hours because they want to be present with their friends, their family. But we, like I said, prioritize them and the relationship so much that when that also doesn't get met, like when that person doesn't meet us at that expectation, we make it mean that they don't care about us. We also have a fear of rejection. Everything that I say or do will lead to rejection. So I have to be really careful about what I say or do. I can't be too much of this. I can't have enough of that because they will eventually reject me. And we're always hyper vigilant to things that they could reject us for or leave us for. And then the last one, like I said, there's so many, but these are some of the common ones, is I have to be perfect. I have to have my shit together. I have to present myself in such a way that, they'll never leave me. It all intertwines, right? But it's like this perfectionism, being a perfectionist in relationships, having to do everything and say everything right. And if I don't, then they will leave me. So these beliefs can typically sabotage the way that we are connecting with others, because if we are driven by these fears and these beliefs, then some of the behaviors that can manifest from these beliefs are clinginess. That was the biggest one. We're not getting clingy because we feel happy and joyful in the relationship. We're getting clingy because we're afraid of losing it. We're afraid of being alone. So this is our coping mechanism when those subconscious beliefs that I've just talked about get triggered. And we become clingy because we're almost needing something from that person, whether it's reassurance, love, validation. We almost feel like these people are the key to our happiness, and they can relieve us of our suffering. We see this in movies and songs all the time about how life only begins when I found you, and so sad before I found you, and now I'm happy and you bring me so much happiness. We put so much on this person that they almost become our happiness. And if we are going to lose that, then we're going to become depressed and sad and lonely and all these terrible things. So of course we're going to go ahead and cling on to that if we have then labeled them as such. We're not going to want to go back to square one. Whatever we're looking for in other people, or whatever they represent, that's an invitation to really ask yourself, what am I lacking within myself? If this person is happiness for me, I don't feel happy unless I'm in a relationship. I don't feel happy unless I'm around my partner. Then that says a lot about I don't know how to make myself feel happy. I don't know what that looks like. But when we attach it to something or someone, we lose our power. We give all our power to this person, and then they control how happy we are in life. And it also reminds me of this saying that the Buddha once said, and that is, attachment is the root of all suffering. And I think this is relevant for the ocean archetype because we become overly attached. We become quickly attached to someone or something. And, paired up with the law of impermanence, like nothing is permanent in this life. But when we attach so quickly and deeply, and we call things like my boyfriend, my husband, like mine, my girlfriend, they become ours. They become almost like our possessions. So if we're to lose that, we lose a part of ourselves and we lose so much. And I'm not saying there is loss involved when we lose someone. When did the line get drawn that we completely lose our whole selves to this relationship and to this person? And that is when we have to be able to see how can we still keep a sense of independence and be in a relationship with another person. What does that look like? And that's maybe where your work starts. I want to quickly run through some of the behaviors. So we went through some of the beliefs of what's typically driving the behaviors of someone who is more an anxiously attached individual. So how you can spot this either in yourself or others is that you only typically get anxious when you're dating. So when you're single, you're good. Like you're confident, you're out there, you're kicking ass at your career, you've got good social circle, you've got things going on and you're just fine when you're single. And then when you start to date or you get into a relationship with someone, there's almost like this anxiety then starts to take over. It's almost like everything, like my, independent woman era went out the window. And now I'm left with this anxious mess on the floor who doesn't know how to handle herself. And we can shame ourselves when we're in this space as well. Our system is wanting to be attached to someone, and what are we making it mean about them that we're getting so attached to? How I would see this in myself is like, I would meet them, we go on the first date, I like them, and I'm already starting to fantasize about what life would be like with them. How would our wedding look like? Pairing my first name with their surname, like all these things would start to happen in my mind very, very quickly. And even though we may think it's harmless to fantasize and have these visions, they're in our subconscious, and our subconscious doesn't know what's real and what's not. So if we're leaning into these fantasies, our subconscious thinks it's real. So then we will then subconsciously start to act like this person, like we're married to this person. And we'll be wondering, why are they not like texting me all day, every day, like they should be, because in our head, they're our husband. But in reality, they are literally just someone we met. So we may think that we know them more than we actually do. So the fantasizing is a big part of it as well. And we get really, really excited. We get almost too excited. We feel like we're on cloud 100 when this person is around. It's almost like this very intense high that we feel. And I remember having a particular period of time when I was really feeling like this towards someone. And the only way that I can compare it to, and that it's like being on heroin. It's so intense, and it's so like everything is multicolored. The world is such a brighter place when this person is in your life. And that's when we put them on this massive pedestal. And there's the obsessive phone checking all the time, like wanting to hear from this person desperately and not being able to relax or rest until we've heard from them. And then we almost respond immediately. And again, we're left in that space of, when am I going to hear from them? Are they going to respond? Why are they not responding? And we get so caught up in these cycles of thoughts where we may not be able to focus on our work, where we may not be able to do anything until we receive that response. Like I mentioned before, you might start to see anxiety showing up in your body. So this could look like not being able to sleep, not being able to eat, overeating, sleeping too much. For me, it looked like acne. I know that when anxiety is ruling my body is when I'm like breaking out with acne. Or I know another client said to me that he was losing his hair. Like, all these are symptoms of anxiety and stress pumping too much around the body. So again, an invitation to really take a step back and observing what is going on to cause this. Another one that might sting a little bit to hear this, but we may start to lie or manipulate to keep the relationship. So maybe something that we did that we don't feel like is a good thing, whatever that is. Maybe we did something, even the smallest thing, that we know that our partner will not like or agree with or value. We will then hide it from them, or we'll lie about it. Or maybe, like, for example, if they mentioned it to us that they don't like us drinking, just an example, and then we go out and we have a couple of drinks with our friend, and then we get really obsessed with, oh my god, but they don't like it when I drink, they don't like alcohol. So we may then hide the fact that we have been drinking. We may lie about it when they ask, and we may then manipulate, like maybe say like, no, like you're being jealous and not okay by accusing me of drinking. And because we're so afraid of losing the relationship, that we try to manipulate the outcome instead of, yeah, I did have a couple of drinks with my friend, and that's okay. Like, I wanted that because it's very connective, and I'm okay. I'm not drunk in any way. Like, this is my choice. Instead of being very empowered in that way, we're being fearful that they're going to leave. We find it really difficult to give our partners space. And now I'm not talking about like a month. Like, of course, that's going to be super triggering, right? If our partner asks for like a break, it's going to be triggering. I'm talking about space like wanting a night alone. We're spending time with our partner, and for us, we don't want it to end. We don't want them to leave. But then they're like, like, we've been spending all this time together. I would really love to have an evening by myself to relax and to catch up with, my TV shows, whatever it is that they want to do. We then really struggle with that. We make it mean that they don't want to spend time with us. We then don't know what to do with ourselves because we struggle to be alone. There's an element of enmeshment. And what enmeshment means is literally intertwining yourself with someone else. So you may hear of things being said like joined at the hip. When you see someone who is joined at the hip and can't do anything without each other, and you're on a girls' trip and the boyfriend's tagging along, like, that's enmeshment, meaning they cannot physically be without each other. So you may feel that in relationships. You may be afraid to allow your partner to feel hurt or dislike something that we do, like I said, and we may lie to get around that or mold ourselves to try to be perfect. We may avoid conflict altogether because conflict is a scary thing. Maybe we grew up in a household where our parents were always fighting and breaking up and separating and divorcing because of conflict. So now it's this big scary thing. We don't know how to handle it. We don't know how to be in a disagreement with our partner, and all we want to do is make it better, or we want to defend ourselves. We don't want to be seen as someone who has made a mistake. We may find ourselves a little bit controlling. Now, this can be in different elements. So for me, I remember doing something called emasculation with one of my partners. And what this means is taking away their autonomy as a man. meaning not allowing them to step up and take the lead, because we may have beliefs that we can do it better than them, we can make better decisions than them, we want to be in control and make sure everything goes the way that we want it to. So the way that I would see that this is when we were traveling or when we were living together, I would do everything, and then I would wonder why he's not doing anything because I didn't give him the space to. So we could almost like mother our partners in a way, where we are trying to control them subconsciously. We're not meaning to, but they then have to do everything that we want to do. So if I say yes to going on a double date with a friend of mine, my partner has to come. He doesn't have an option. And that could be then dictating, controlling what they want to do, which leaves, especially men, but also women, leaves them in a very disempowering, powerless state where they don't feel like they have any autonomy over themselves. And that can build up disconnection and resentment towards us. And this can also look like crossing their boundaries, not allowing them to have boundaries, controlling their time, controlling their energy. Don't hang out with him. Don't do that. Don't do this. It can be a very demanding energy on our partners, which can also push them away. Sometimes when we're in this space, we're almost training our partners to grow distance from us because we're taking away their power. We're taking away their autonomy. And especially if you're with an avoidant partner, that is something that they highly value. So if we then try to control them or change them in any way, that will be a big no-no for them, and you will start to see that they will withdraw. The last one is that we may struggle to find meaning or purpose or even joy in our life when we don't have a partner. We may feel discontent, unhappy, not fulfilled when we don't have that relationship. But what's happening is this deep insecurity about ourselves. And we may often find that when we are single, when we are alone, we're almost getting attached to other things like our career. We may dive really into our work, into our business, become a workaholic. We may pour into our friends and get a little bit attached to our friends. So this is how an anxious attachment style can look like, feel like. What's happening in an individual who has an anxious attachment style, the ocean archetype. And it can be a lot. It seems like a lot, right? But it's always good to build up this awareness and deep understanding of what's going on with you, because that's like step one of healing, is awareness and acceptance, being able to meet yourself where you're at, being able to understand yourself deeply in order to make some changes that you want to make in your life. Be aware of who you're with. Like, know that an avoidant partner is going to trigger your anxious attachment style in a huge way in compared to someone who's more on the secure spectrum. And I don't want anyone to ever fall into the habit or the pattern of now taking their anxious attachment style as an excuse for manipulative, toxic, avoidant behavior. I know I spoke a lot about how we typically do things in a relationship that may result in pushing someone away, but at the end of the day, we may also be falling into relationships that are on the opposite spectrum, where they are being so much in their avoidant system that it triggers us in a massive way, but then we brush it under the carpet, we dismiss it, we say it's okay because it's my fault. I have this anxious attachment style, it's my fault, I shouldn't be too clingy, I shouldn't be too needy, that's why they're taking up all the space, when in reality you're not a priority for them. And I know this can be difficult to differentiate between the two, and that's when, doing this work on yourself, like knowing what is something that is happening within me. I cannot see anything that is super triggering. Or when is it like, hang on a minute, I am being severely triggered right now. It is not a case of me being a reaction to an abandonment wound. And the more you work on yourself, the less anxious and insecure that you become within yourself, the more you work on communicating, setting boundaries, meeting your own needs, you will then start to rise above all of this. And then you can make that assessment on people and be like, actually, this is not okay. This bare minimum behavior that you're giving me, I deserve more. I may not have ever believed that I did, but I do. And this is exactly what happened to me when I started doing the work on myself. I looked at my relationship and I'm like, hang on a minute. I have sacrificed, I have molded, I have done all these things to be able to keep this person when in reality they are disrespecting me, they are manipulating me, they are emotionally abusing me. And the more you increase in your self-worth and self-value, the more you can see this, because we can't see it when we're so engulfed with the fear of abandonment, and the only thing our brain is concerned with is keeping that person. We can't see it. But then when we start to heal that, we can start to see things for what they are. And then we can make our assessments. Even in a dating situation, what used to attract you when you were more on the anxious side now repels you when you work on yourself to become more secure. Like, not getting back to me for days on end. I mean, back then when I was more anxiously attached, we used to be thrilling. I used to lean into it. Oh my gosh, this person is so amazing and desirable. I have to have them. I have to be chosen by them. Whereas now it's like, no, not okay. Let me address this with them first of all. I'm like, hey, I understand you're busy, but if we're going to, lean into this connection together, if we want to make something about this, like, we have to be able to give effort. Effort needs to be there, and if that's not there, then there's no way that we can really form a healthy connection. And if they're like, that's not something I can do, then I can make my decision based off of that, rather than trying to change them or fix them or squeeze them into something that I want them to be, or squeezing myself into something that they want to be. So we're meeting each other in a vulnerable, authentic way instead. All right, so let's talk a little bit about how to start healing this attachment style, anxious attachment style. So what I'll say first of all is physical intimacy makes it worse. Now, I can't say this for everyone with this attachment style, but what I have come to find, not only within myself but with my clients, is as soon as you start to get physically intimate with somebody, something happens within our attachment system where there's this like, okay, now we are connected, now we are on another level. Whereas maybe we have a more avoidant person on the other end who sees sex as a very different thing to us. So check in with yourself. How do you feel when you are physically intimate with someone? Are you someone who can have casual sex, casual intimacy, or is intimacy something that is sacred to you? If so, take it slow. Don't give it away so freely. Make sure that this person values you and is worthy of you and what you are able to give them. Like, what you have is incredible. Are they worthy of receiving that? Take your time to make that assessment. Don't go all in. Be careful to not throw your standards out the window in the moment, in the heightened moment when things are happening and popping off and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to have this person now. Have your own back in these moments and just know to yourself, like, I cannot, because I know that once I become physically intimate with this person, things are going to change. Communicate that with them. Know that I am going to take it slow because of this reason. Wait until it feels safe to do so. That's the key thing here, guys. If you don't feel safe with someone, it needs some time or it needs some attention as to why you don't feel safe. Have those boundaries in place before you start dating, before you get into a relationship. Know your values, know your boundaries, know your non-negotiables. And then I would recommend really focusing on emotional regulation first and foremost, to manage your behavior and to stay grounded within yourself. So instead of being an emotional reaction and needing that reassurance, needing to hear from them, needing that close intimacy, focus on yourself first in regulating that anxiety. So this could look like meditation, yoga, breath work, talking to a friend, going for a walk, some form of exercise. Be grounded in yourself before you respond to your triggers. Pause. I call them power pauses. Take a power pause. I always encourage my clients to do this. When you're dating someone, always pause in between text messages, in between dates. Don't go and see them then the next morning. Pause. Be able to give yourself that time and space to make assessments, to be able to calm down from a reactive state into a responsive state where your logical brain is also a part of the decision making, a part of the response. Communicate what's going on with you. Communication for us anxiously attached lovers is a whole thing where we may not know how to communicate. We haven't been shown what healthy communication looks like. We're afraid of it. We avoid it. We don't want to be vulnerable because what does that mean? It means rejection, it means abandonment. But communication is so key to happy, healthy, secure relationships. Take it slow. Start with yourself. Start with communicating to yourself what you're needing, what your boundaries are. Communicate what's important for you in a relationship. Own everything that is important to you. And if that person doesn't feel the same way, so like kids is the best example, right? Like it's important for you to be with someone who also wants children. And if this, you're Mr. Perfect, or what you see as Mr. Perfect or Mrs. Perfect doesn't want children, instead of like being like, oh, well, that's okay because I may not want children down the line. No, like own it. Oh, I do want children. This is a clash. How do we get around this? Can we get around this? If not, maybe we need to start to think about separating because this is this is a non-negotiable. So owning what you need, what's important for you, deliver it in a way that is not coming from a space of defensiveness or attack, but let's work together to get around this obstacle, to manage this trigger. You're a team. When you're with someone, when you decide to be with someone, to commit to someone, you are deciding to be in a team with this person. So let's start acting like it. Act like you're in a team with this person rather than getting defensive and attacking them in a way that drives you apart, is disconnecting. And lastly, focus on areas of your life that needs attention. Fill up your life so there's no preoccupation. So make sure that you have a healthy balance of friendships, energy in your career, you have hobbies, you have a life outside of your relationship. So you don't become the relationship. You don't become your partner. You are your own person outside of the relationship. So heaven forbid something happens where unfortunately you have to go your separate ways or they're no longer around. You don't lose so much of yourself. Have your own friends, have your own hobbies, have a life outside of your relationship. And do the deeper work as well. If you're noticing as you're listening to this episode, oh man, this is me. I resonate so hard with a lot of these things that are coming up right now, and I don't know what to do about it. I don't know where to start. I don't know where to begin. This feels so overwhelming, but I know that it's there and I know that something needs to change. Think about what you can do to start to do that deeper healing work, whether it's working with a coach like myself, going into therapy if you feel like there's a lot going on from the past that is left unresolved. Maybe you want to do a self-help journey where you're helping yourself, you're reading books, you're doing courses. Dedicate the time and energy to yourself, commit to yourself, know that you are worthy of this deep healing work, and know that you are worthy of that happy, healthy, secure relationship with others. But it does start with you. We cannot be in a secure relationship with someone else when we're feeling so insecure in ourselves. It just doesn't work. I've tried. I have been in a relationship with someone who is securely attached, and instead of that, seeing that as an invitation to better myself, I saw it as, oh, this person will do everything for me. As long as I'm with this person, I'll be fine. No, it's not. Because eventually this person they just had enough of how I was acting and behaving, and thinking that I can just blame my attachment style, blame them, and not take any responsibility for myself. So it starts there, guys. It starts with just owning ourselves, taking responsibility, and doing something about this so we can become better humans, better partners, better for ourselves first and foremost. I will leave the episode there, my loves. If you want to dive into the more deeper healing work, you are very welcome to reach out to me to talk about this, to talk about the coaching programs that I have. I have a group program, I have one-on-one, I have a membership. There's so many different options. If you want to talk about what the one is right for you, don't hesitate to get in touch. Let's talk about it, and let's get you on that journey to healing your anxious attachment patterns and becoming more secure in yourself and in relationships. Check out the other Relationship Archetype series as well if you want to understand attachment styles. All right, lots of love to you guys, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for joining me on the Relationship Rehab podcast. I hope that this episode has supported you in healing, growing, and evolving out of insecure attachment and unhealthy relationship patterns and into safe, authentic love with yourself and others. If you enjoyed the episode, it would mean the absolute world to me if you would just take a second to rate and review this podcast. Every rating and review from you guys counts, as it really helps this podcast to grow so it can reach more people who need to hear this content. And don't forget to connect with me on social media. Take a screenshot of this podcast episode, share it on your IG stories, and tag me at the.relationship.rehab with your biggest takeaway from the episode. I really do love reading them. See you back here next week for another episode on the Relationship Rehab podcast.